Mizzou students gathered to support the end of violence toward women and girls at this year's Vagina Monologues.
A panel of Mizzou English professors discussed transforming literature into a digital format.
And a bunch of Mizzou students and Columbia residents attended the International Film Festival.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of 23 News. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amber Smith.
And I'm Lila Gross. You're watching MUTV 23 News. Now, get excited.
Last Friday, Mizzou students attended the annual Vagina Monologues to support the end of violence towards women and girls by listening to real stories of violence. Emma Henderson has the story.
This is Emma Henderson reporting from inside Jessie Auditorium, where we are currently watching the Vagina Monologues. The 12th annual Vagina Monologues are labeled as not your typical theater production. It's a compilation of stories told by women about anything from minor bodily pet peeves to heartbreaking stories of rape.
1 Billion Rising is a community joining in solidarity, purpose, and energy. Showing the world our collective strength, our numbers, our unity. We are 1 billion.
I think it's a lot of fun and just really nice to be somewhere and hearing about this sort of thing, you know, feeling the feelings that they're talking about and feeling awkward or bad about them.
Mizzou's Vagina Monologues is a part of a bigger awareness event called V-Day, which is a global movement to end violence against women. 90% of the proceeds from Mizzou's show go toward local organizations like True North Women's Shelter. This has been Emma Henderson, 23 News.
Thanks for that, Emma.
Last Friday, the 4th annual Mizzou Idol was hosted, Ryan Seacrest style. I got the story.
Hi, I'm Amber Smith, and I'm here at the Mizzou Theater. Tonight, we are here for Mizzou Idol, and plenty of Mizzou students have been working really hard, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what they have prepared for us.
You have your own thing going on. I have a feeling there's like a Tina Turner in there.
Sophomore Marissa Ann Lewis Thompson was the 2013 Mizzou Idol winner. For this, she received $400, a trophy, and the chance to perform at a Mizzou athletic event.
This is Amber Smith with 23 News.
Thanks, Amber. On Friday, Mizzou After Dark hosted a party like a rock star with tie-dye and rock band, a fantastic alternative for those who don't want to party. Lauren Sloan has the story.
This is Lauren Sloan, and I'm reporting live for MUTV's 23 News. I'm here at the Student Union on February 15th, and we're just hanging out with Mizzou After Dark, chilling at their event, Party Like a Rock Star.
My friends and I really love all the crafts and the games and stuff. My favorite part is the crafts, but I just think it's really cool that it's like an alternative to partying and drinking and stuff because we're not really into that.
At Memorial Union on Friday, February 15th, Mizzou After Dark hosted the Party Like a Rockstar event. Mizzou After Dark encourages students to have fun on a Friday night without feeling the pressure to drink or party. At these events, they provide a free dinner, crafts, games, and various activities relating to the theme. This week, they had Guitar Hero and karaoke to make everyone feel like a rock star.
We mostly just look at different websites. We get a lot of our ideas from Pinterest and websites like that, and then just crafts that we all kind of know of. We kind of just collaborate.
I'm Emma Henderson, and I'm here with two students eager to debate about the new gun control legislation that President Obama proposed after the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School that left 26 people dead before the shooter ended up taking his own life. 20 of the fatalities were children. So, because of this shooting, we now have to talk about legislation regarding gun control, and there are, President Obama actually came out with 23 points, and so we're going to just discuss a few. The first one being that they want to improve incentives for the states to share information with the background check system. And we're going to start with Kevin. What do you think about this?
All right, so for states sharing information with the background system, it only makes perfect sense for there to be a a contingency between the two systems of government to work together to facilitate better protection for the citizens. Obviously, we can see through the Sandy Hook shooting that there needs to be some sort of check to see who falls into the category of maybe they should not own a gun, or maybe they should have checkups done on them to see if they can use a gun properly.
All right, and Jacob?
Well, what we've seen in shootings like Sandy Hook and previous school shootings or shootings in general, the person that is the shooter, the criminal, got access to guns in other ways, be it illegal ways, family members, things like that. So, I mean, restricting people on buying guns, it might help maybe, but like we see in Chicago, people get guns illegally just as easily, if not easier, than getting them legally. And they're a lot cheaper, actually, that way, too. So I don't know if more restrictions is going to do any good.
All right. So along with that, he also proposed rulemaking to give law enforcement the ability to run a full background check on someone before returning a seized gun. Now, Kevin, what do you see as the benefits for that?
All right, so on his point earlier, he said that not many people have guns, that they didn't get guns legally or through legal means. And what we can see is that all these guns that law enforcement does obtain, it provides some sort of insight as to maybe they can track out where it came from or who's providing the guns to these sorts of people. And it only makes sense to have that sort of, that ties between the two different systems of government in order to facilitate better gun control. Even if we can't track all the illegal ones, we can make some sort of headway on where they're coming from.
All right. And how about you, Jacob?
If that actually worked, there wouldn't be such a bad crime rate in Chicago. I mean, cops are doing everything that they can to stop crime rate, to stop gun violence, and it's just simply not working. Restrictions don't work.
But do you think a full background check might help?
A background check on a person who's caught with a gun? Okay, what's that?
Before returning the gun back.
What's that going to do? Okay, you take that gun away, then they're just going to go get another one.
Okay. All right. So another point that has been very popular recently has been maximizing enforcement efforts to prevent gun violence and prosecute gun crime. Now, this includes the potential of eliminating the ability to purchase high-capacity assault rifles and high-capacity magazines, and the NRA has been all over this aspect of it. Now, what do you see as the positive of limiting these?
Well, I mean, if you take a look at assault rifles and high-capacity magazines, they don't really have another purpose other than to injure human beings. If you're a hunter or a real hunter, you'll know that you sit in a tree for hours, and you may get 1 or 2 shots off on an animal.
Have you ever hunted before?
No, sir, I have not, but I have plenty of friends who do, and as well,
friends who do.
My
I've
girlfriends.
actually hunted, and I know that having guns that have high capacity gets you a better chance of hitting an animal.
So explain to me, why do you take multiple shots? After you fire 1 bullet, doesn't the animal usually run away?
You can shoot it on the run. Good marksman,
So,
even me as like a 10, 12-year-old, I was able to get multiple shots off with a bolt action.
Were you using, were you using a high-capacity assault rifle, though, that is designed for military purposes?
No, but those can be changed for hunting purposes. They can be adjusted for hunting purposes.
Not only that, but can you explain to us what's the difference between having 8 bullets as opposed to having, let's say, 30 in a magazine?
Have you ever tried to reload a gun? It takes a long time, especially when you're trying to catch a deer that's running away.
So is there an actual
My problem with this thing is that people who have never even touched a gun argue about guns. They don't even know their way around a gun. They may know how to hold it because they've played arcade games, but what gives you the right to argue about taking away my guns or my family's guns when you have no idea what you're talking about?
Well, you're making the presumption, first off, that I haven't touched a gun, sir. I'm an Eagle Scout. I have touched a gun a few times. My question to you is, are you going to actually use 30 bullets to kill an animal? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of hunting? Doesn't that ruin the hide? Doesn't that ruin the meat?
The point of it is not to hit it with all 30 rounds. The point is to give you a better chance of hitting it before having to reload it, before it gets away. If you have a bolt-action rifle, then you have a window of maybe a minute or a second and a half to hit it before having to chamber another round. And deer run fast. Birds move fast. You can't, to bolt another round in takes too long. You just don't have that time when you're hunting, especially when you're hunting high-profile game.
So I guess the question that raises is, with the high-capacity magazines that might have 30 bullets, are you really going to have time to fire off all 30 bullets while that animal is running away?
It depends. It depends on what animal it is. You could get probably 20 shots off. I mean, you're probably a pretty poor marksman if you can't hit the animal then, but the idea is to give you a better chance of hitting the animal, because I know from personal experience, when you have a 15-point buck in front of you, you want to bag that animal. And having, you know, a 5-chamber rifle that you have to bolt every load in, it makes that a lot harder.
Okay.
So I have a question for you. Do you believe that there comes some point to where your right to own a gun should be hindered by the government's purpose to protect the citizens of the United States?
You have to talk about, if you want to talk about rights, one person's right cannot infringe on another person's right. So when you talk about gun rights, you have to realize that you're restricting my rights or people's rights, and it's not just about hunting. It's about personal protection, our Second Amendment rights. It was written in the Constitution for a reason. You're taking away a huge segment of the population's right to own and bear arms because a handful of people abuse that right and do horrible things. I'm not trying to sit here and say that horrible things don't happen with guns. They do, but horrible things happen with cars too. More people in almost every single state besides Alaska and the District of Columbia are killed by motor vehicle accidents than by guns per year. That's just a fact. So are we going to start restricting license rates, car sales? I mean, you have to take that into account too.
Well, see, I like the idea, and if you mind, let's go back to the constitutional right to bear a gun, because that seems to be the core issue of why people want to keep their guns, and that's kind of like the core of the debate. So with let's just go back to other constitutional rights that are restricted because it harms other people. For instance, you can't yell fire, you know, it's the common example. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, and because that can injure other people. In the same reason, don't you think that it's reasonable, or sorry, in the same idea, don't you think it's reasonable to restrict people's ability to own dangerous weapons because they can harm other people?
Okay, so if you take away guns, what do you take away next? Do you take away knives? Do you take away hunting knives? Do you take away things like machetes, axes that people use for practical purposes, just like they use guns for practical purposes?
That's the slippery slope of the argument. Right now, the focus is gun control.
Well, if you're going to legislate it, it can't be a slippery slope. If you're going to legislate it and take away constitutional rights, it has to be a firm belief, and it can't be slippery.
We are discussing the rights to bear arms, specifically high-capacity rifles at this time. So to wrap it up, I'm going to ask you guys, why do you feel, Jacob, that it is necessary that for people to have access to military-style assault rifles?
Military-style assault rifles fall under the constitutional right of having and bearing arms. The point of that constitutional amendment is to give citizens of the United States the ability to protect themselves against any possible threat, foreign or domestic. I don't see a problem with people owning military-style rifles to protect themselves. I don't see a problem with that.
All right, and we're going to end with you, Kevin.
Sure. So I believe that people do have the right to bear arms, and by all means, they should be able to use them in times of need, when somebody is invading their home, or when they're trying to provide them for themselves via hunting, or when there's a national crisis. But the problem that we're running into now is that there is an increased tendency for gun violence, especially in large urban and city areas where we have to do something about it. And large majority of people, even NRA members, 74% of NRA members are for increased gun control. And I think that it's time that there's something done, regardless of what you believe about high-capacity magazines, something done about gun control in general.
Well, that about wraps it up for us. Thank you for listening to the Roundtable Debate on Gun Control. Up next, we have Spencer Wilson talking to Coal Free Mizzou.
Hey guys, I'm Spencer Wilson here with Hunter from Coal Free Mizzou. Just to get us started off, what is Coal-Free Mizzou?
Yeah, so Coal-Free Mizzou started way back in the 90s, actually, as the Student Sierra Coalition. So what that means is it's basically the same organization, but it kind of had a falling out basically in the early 2000s. And a couple students decided to actually make a different organization called Sustain Mizzou. And then a couple years passed, and then we had a culmination of a couple more students, and they called it Coal-Free Mizzou.
Okay, so
yeah.
Were the beginning organizations environmentally aware? Also, that was their focus also?
Yeah, it wasn't centered on coal, though. It was more like a conservation type Sierra Club type thing going on.
Okay, perfect. Now, you guys recently went to Washington, D.C.
Sure did, yeah.
How did that trip go?
You know what? It went phenomenal, actually. It was, it was a long trip, though. It was about 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on a bus. We didn't fly out there. It's more friendly to the environment.
Okay.
So that was good. And we had a bunch of people come with us from Missouri. So it was Mizzou, Webster, Washington University, Missouri State. Who am I missing? Truman came, as well as SLU. So we had a little over 100. I think it was 110 students in 2 coach buses.
That's impressive.
It was a pretty good turnout.
It sounds cramped too.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a trip. But
Yeah.
we got there. A little bit of touring in DC, but it was mostly work. Not a lot of sleep. Stayed with some random folks on their couch.
Really?
And then woke up and went down to the Capitol.
Very cool. Now, did you meet any other groups that were like your organization while you were in DC?
Sure. Actually, the morning of which was Sunday, this past Sunday, the morning of, there's the National Youth Convergence, which was a little bit over 2,000 students from around the country at the W Hotel next to the U.S. Department of Treasury in D.C. And we had a bunch of different student speakers and pep rally type thing before the protest.
Okay, so you guys all got connected through there.
So it was a bunch of different, over 2,000, like I said.
All right. So you referenced earlier how your organization got started early on, kind of came to fruition through that. So what's the big deal with Coal on Mizzou? What's going on with that?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of issues around coal. I guess we can start real quick. If you think of coal, there's a lot of different problems, obviously. So basically, if you're taking something out of the ground,
yes,
it's not actually in circulation within the atmosphere, right? So you're actually putting things that were put into basically like a vault by the Earth. You're taking them out and putting them back in the atmosphere. So we have all these different chemicals and CO2, which warms the Earth, increasing in concentration unnaturally, right? So basically, Coal-Free's whole mission statement is collaborating with students, faculty, and staff to move Mizzou beyond coal towards 100% renewable energy. We don't have an exact time frame set. We used to, but we're currently working with the administration with different consultants and working on moving past coal.
Okay. So what would be something you're trying to get students involved here at Mizzou that would be an activist kind of an idea, like an activity that you do to help move your kind of goal forward?
Right. So we have weekly meetings every week, 7 p.m. in Arts and Science 310. And that's Coal-Free Mizzou, but there's many different environmental organizations on campus. And you can find those out through the Environmental Leadership Office, which is environmentalleadership.missouri.edu, such as Sustain Mizzou, Environmental Science Club, water technologists, a whole bunch of different organizations. Right?
Okay, and I was looking up on your website earlier before this, and you guys have your entire web page, a Twitter, a Facebook, all those different things. So that's how students could find you through that, right?
Definitely, yeah. And all those are all linked in the Environmental Leadership Office too. So, yeah.
Kind of keep you through there.
Yeah.
So what would be your vision for the world then with coal and how we should treat it?
How we should treat it. Okay. Well, there is still massive reserves of coal, obviously, throughout the world. But we need to move in a direction towards renewable energy just because of the amount of people on the Earth, right?
Yes.
We can't keep clearing land. We have to actually be planting more trees because we have been just destroying the forests previously.
Chopping them down.
Right. So vision is, 100% renewable energy, and we can do that through policy, grassroots movements like Coal-Free Mizzou and Renew Missouri and stuff like that. Renewable energy standards within states, nationwide climate legislation, which was part of what this last rally was about, is actual climate legislation. We have to have mandates. We have to actually set a goal.
Okay, so you're actually getting it into the picture and legislating.
Right.
Okay, perfect. And then just personally, what is it like working on these issues on campus at MU?
You know, personally, it's been amazing. It's nothing like, you know, there's a lot of bureaucracy and stuff like that. But all in all, it's amazing working on this campus. Administration, faculty, staff, they're all so perceptive and sensitive to students' issues. And just seeing that and seeing how students can change things, just getting a couple of people together and talking about it, and you know, using positive reinforcement with your peers and stuff like that, it really goes to show how much the university cares about its students. And MU being the flagship university in the state is powerful, because what we're doing at Coal-Free, Sustain Mizzou, all these different organizations collaborating together.
It sets the example for
the
other ones?
People are watching us.
Okay.
You know, just this past weekend, Mark Ruffalo retweeted us. Very nice. So we had a reach of 500,000 plus folks this past weekend. He really cares about it. Hopefully we can bring him to campus, maybe. We're hoping, maybe. But anyway, you know, it's just about reach. It's just about outreach, education.
Perfect. And is there anything else you wanted us to know about Coal-Free Mizzou?
You know, come to our meetings. Check us out. If you don't know anything about the environment and want to get involved, definitely check out Environmental Leadership Office. It's in the Center for Student Involvement in the Student Center. Also, Sustainability Week is coming up, April 15th through the 19th. Come out. Lots of free stuff, free food, free speakers. It's going to be fun.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Hunter.
You're welcome.
So that was us with Coal-Free Mizzou. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to stop by the Student Center on Fridays if you want to be a part of Ask Mizzou, which you do. If you follow us on Twitter, that's at MUTV23, and you be sure to check out our Facebook page. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, email us at 23news.mutv@gmail.com. For 23 News, this is Spencer Wilson. Keep it real, Tigers.